Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that Friday lunchtime is probably not the most convenient time for watching a live webinar, particularly in the middle of what I'm sure is another busy pharmacy day. Although we are, of course, getting something out here now so that many more people can watch it on catch up. First of all, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, to Lifebuoy, for sponsoring all the conference events this week. We're delighted to be working with you. And as I said, we wanted to get something out there very quickly, as soon as possible, really, on the topic we're talking about this lunchtime. It is both a really important topic and it's really urgent. So today is just a starter for 10, really, on the situation with claiming back your COVID costs. Before we get into the detail of that, I want to probably just start by saying that on behalf of the NPA, it is good that the government has finally listened to our constant and repeated appeals for a decision on how COVID costs will be repaid to pharmacies in England. If I'm honest, I don't think it should have taken anything like as long as it has to get to this point. Nor, I think, should it have taken battle buses and petitions and newspaper campaigns and even protests by NPA members to get to a point where government agrees to cover the costs that have been expended. And I do want to recognise that as part of this lobbying and campaigning, we should acknowledge all the support of many MPs and peers who've backed us in Parliament, including, of course, Jackie Doyle-Price as the chair of the all-party pharmacy group. So now there has been agreement that the clock is ticking. And for contractors, that's all about claiming back your costs in the next 6 weeks. In fact, as we're recording this today on Friday, it's almost the first week of those 6 has almost gone by. So we're down to just over 5 weeks to make this claim. So I'm absolutely delighted that Simon Jukes, the chief executive of PSNC, has found the time, literally overnight, to record a short 10-minute introduction for us. I know from Simon and from colleagues, this has been a really busy week for PSNC. They're still involved in ongoing negotiations around year 3, and they've had a committee meeting. So I am really, really grateful that Simon has found the time to do this for us. It's fantastic. So Simon, could you play the video from Simon Jukes, please?
Hello, my name's Simon Jukes. I'm Chief Executive of PSNC. Thank you to the NPA for inviting me to say a few words about COVID costs and cost recovery. Everything I'm going to say is on the PSNC website under our FAQs on this topic. That will be added to over the coming days and weeks. And of course, in addition, we are PSNC holding a number of contractor webinars as we get further details and further clarity from the Department of Health and Social Care on a number of the issues that we're going to talk about tonight. So let me just say where we are right now and how we got here briefly. It's been a tortuous process. It's taken us a year plus to get to a point where we have an offer from the Department of Health and from Treasury on our COVID costs. A year ago, the PSNC committee rejected an offer from the department. That offer was a restricted COVID costs offer. It was only for 3 months, March to May 2020. It was capped. And it was offset against things such as the retail, hospitality and leisure grant. That just could not happen. We could not accept it. The committee quite rightly rejected it. Months of wrangling took place after that, not just between PSNC and the department, but also internally between the department, Treasury and other departments. The NPA and other bodies, the NPA in particular, did some sterling work in engaging with the media, with politicians, lobbying to try and get the COVID costs written off against that £370 million loan. We were never going to get that, but it was a really strong narrative. And I think what we have ended up with, which is effectively a 13-month period through which we can claim with an unlimited claim, i.e. no cap, with the abandonment of the offset against retail, hospitality and leisure grants, is really strong. It's not exactly what we wanted, but it's as good as we're going to get. The NPA have sent me a number of questions. I'm going to address those as best I can. It is a slightly changing landscape. There will be further information that comes out from PSNC over the next few days. But really the message from me, if nothing else, is that every contractor has to claim. This is really, really important. We've got £370 million that's going to be reclaimed from our sector from the 1st of October in 6 instalments through to March 22. It is up to every contractor to put in their best possible claim for every single COVID cost, because if we don't, effectively, we are subsidising the Treasury over the pandemic. And as we know, our sector cannot stomach any more financial cuts. So I'm going to look at some of the questions that the NPA have sent me, and I will do my best to answer them. One is about the window for submitting claims and why is it so short? Well, it's 6 weeks. Actually, the initial offer that we got a few weeks ago from the department was 5 weeks. And we pushed back on that because even the GPs got 6 weeks for their COVID costs claims. 6 weeks is the maximum. It allows us time to put in those claims. I appreciate that that's still going to be a tall ask for some contractors, but it also means there's enough time for the claim to be processed and then of course paid on the 1st of October. Second question is about funding cap, and if there is no funding cap, why is the totality of the claims being submitted to government, why is that going to have government approval? Well, this is all about the Treasury and their duty to protect the public purse. Ultimately, they need to agree that the total is going to be paid out. The cap, there is no cap, there will not be a cap, but it does mean that if our total claims are well in excess of the loan, then of course there are going to be some budgetary issues for Treasury, and they would need to look at that. The converse, of course, is true, and that is that if the claims that we put in as a sector are substantially less than 370 million, then quite rightly PSNC and the department will want to have a discussion about what the impact of paying back that 370 million pounds is going to be on our sector as a whole. So it works both ways. Third question is about information regarding evidence. It's saying here that the NPA is saying that there appears to be insufficient information regarding evidence that could be claimed across the 4 categories. When will more detailed information be available? Well, we hope PSNC to be able to provide more information to contractors over the coming days, but there is inbuilt ambiguity into this. We want, and the department wants, and Treasury has agreed that we should be imaginative in providing evidence to substantiate COVID costs. They accept that not everyone will have invoices, not everyone will have timesheets, and so look across the board at what else can be used to substantiate and evidence your COVID cost claim. So that ambiguity, that flexibility should work in the contractor's favour. Fourth question is about what type of evidence will be acceptable to support the claim. What type of direct informal pieces of evidence? Well, I think we'll say more about this at our webinars over the next week. But as I said, I think we need to be as flexible as we can And if that data that we can provide, that you can provide as a contractor to substantiate your claim exists, then it should be used. And I don't think that we should narrow ourselves to some of the more traditional invoices and paper-based evidence type documentation. Fifth question, in the PSNC FAQs it mentions that although the department will not have time to verify every claim, any outliers will be scrutinised. Can you provide any further information on what this is? I can't because the department, unsurprisingly, have not told us what their parameters are and what, therefore, an outlier will look like. That said, I think that, unsurprisingly, I think that contractors will need to be careful about claims that are way in excess of what they received as a COVID loan, for example. But I go back to saying what I said earlier, which is if you have legitimate COVID claims that can be evidenced, then you should claim them because it is your money and you are due those costs. Question 6, why can't people claim their own time for making these claims? They were not advised in advance of this requirement, and this is an additional piece of work. This is a really good point, one that we pressed the department and Treasury on a number of times. Treasury would not wear it at all. They refused to allow us to claim for the time that it was going to take to make the claim. It was a point of principle for them, and they would not be budged. But it's a good point, and one personally that I think we should have been allowed. The final question: as the recovery of the uplift to advance payments may affect cash flow for pharmacy contractors, can the repayment period be extended beyond 6 months? Well, as I've said, we will be taking stock as soon as all those claims are in. We'll be talking to the Department of Health and Social Care, NHS BSA. We'll see the totality of the claims that have been made, and if it is substantially less than that £370 million, we will be pushing hard for a longer payback period, because clearly the cash flow and the impact on the sector will be substantial. Thank you for your time, for listening. I hope you have a good session on this topic, and it'll be one certainly that PSNC will be returning to in the next couple of days.